Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Abrazo Football Podcast. I'm here today with Brooks. You know me as Blaine, and we have a very special guest in the building. His name is Yemi. Brooks, Yemi, welcome to the show. Yemi, why don't you introduce yourselves to the fans? Tell them who you are, where you're from, and what you're about. And most importantly, who you represent.
Sounds good. And it's a pleasure to be here. Hey, everyone. My name is Yemi. I am, I guess, from a lot of places, but originally from Lagos, Nigeria, currently in Philadelphia. I'm a I don't know, engineer. I work for a software company, and I support the greatest club in the history of football, Chelsea Football Club.
I feel
It's a
attacked right
pleasure to
now.
be here. And let's get to it, guys.
Let's get to it then. Well, first things first. No, actually, Brooks, why don't you kick us off? Which direction do we want to take this? Do we want to talk origin story first? Do we want to figure out why blues? Why blues?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do the origin story. Why the Blues? Because obviously, I've known both of you for quite a long time. Both you Chelsea fans, but I don't really know the whole story. And I know that they're good stories, so I want to know why Blues, why Chelsea fan, what's the story, how'd you get into it, and why are you still a Chelsea fan? I mean, come on, Arsenal is Arsenal season. You should be in red right now.
There's no bandwagoning. Okay, why don't you go ahead and go first, Jimmy? Let's hear what you got.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and so I think there's three memories that I had, but I think the one that kicked it off for me was watching. There's the fancy cable network that you can get in Africa at the time. This is probably 1998 or something, where you get this fancy TV network and you can then watch Premier League games or Serie A games, etc. So I didn't have that. I was at my friend's house, and it was just highlights of this. And and think about this: like, I'm in Nigeria, everyone's black, and I see soccer. Anytime you see soccer, it's all kind of like white people, right? There's some black players and stuff, but the majority of the people that were getting the accolades and stuff like that at that time were didn't look like me, essentially. So I remember watching a show, and there was this black striker in a Chelsea shirt just blasting goals in. I mean, like, left foot, right foot, top corner, like, with power. He looked like he had some speed and got some hunger, and he, like, celebrated really, like, vigorously. So that was actually like Jimmy Floyd Hasselbeck. And ever since I saw Jimmy Floyd just absolutely tearing it up. Now, mind you, these were highlights. So it was a little bit inflated, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is insane. Ever since then, I was kind of interested. And then I remember going to boarding school and getting access to a computer and the internet. This is probably 2002.
Is boarding school in Philly, or are you still in Africa?
No, this is Africa as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember going on the internet, like waiting my turn to get access to a laptop, to a computer, and seeing, and just getting to Chelsea's website and seeing, like, the players: Frank Lampard, Drogba, John Terry. Just watching all of those players. I think I saw Ashley Cole had just signed or something like that, and I just remember
winner, certified winner.
Yeah, I just remember feeling something, right? Just like what, and then this was like really early YouTube as well, and like watching some of these like highlights and stuff like that. I think it's been sold. And then the last one was when I got to the States, right? And just turning on the TV and trying to find soccer and trying to find trying to like reconnect. I think that year Chelsea was barely kicked out of the Champions League, and like, I don't know, it just, from there I just felt like I couldn't support any other club other than the greatest club in football, and so here we have it.
Praise. I love it. That's a beautiful story. I'm afraid my path to Chelsea fandom is not as eventful. It's more of it's a more childish approach, right? So for those that don't know, I was born just very close to Ipswich in the county. And so my dad and my mom were living out in England. They're originally from Mississippi, but they were out in England living there. And my mom had decided that she was a Liverpool fan. They would go to Liverpool every once in a while.
I didn't
and they would
know
check
that.
out the team. Yeah, mom's Liverpool. And then my dad decided, we're Blaine Gun, father Gun, Gunners. Got to support Arsenal. It's our name, right? It's in the bloodline. We got to support them. And all growing up, he was, Arsenal through and through. Mom read as well, Liverpool. And I'll be honest, this, like, when I started watching it, like, for real, this was like back when Mike Owen was like just balling crazy for Liverpool, and Arsenal in their heyday, like late 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s. And I was like, you know what? Who else we got in London? There's a club in London. They wear blue because I like blue. And I'm like, okay, Chelsea. Like, I was like, they wear blue and they're in London. It contradicts what my father goes for.
Pops.
Pops. And at the same time, also, I mean, there's no rivalry with Liverpool, especially at this point in time. But also, I'm like, I can't side with one parent. Like, that's like choosing a mom or a dad in a divorce.
Right.
So I'm like, let me go blue, and then to my amazement, they were purchased, about 7 years later by one billionaire. And, the blue flag's been flying high ever. Well, it was flying high before, but it's been flying high ever since. And then like, you know how it is. Like, I'm like, Brooks knows this. I'm a Knicks fan. Been a Knicks fan my whole life. They've never won nothing. I still support them every year.
Right.
Been a Dodgers fan they won something when I was like a 1-year-old. And I've been supporting the team ever since, and they finally just won it like a World Series two times back, and that felt good. So I was like, I can't jump ship, through thick and thin. And lucky for me, Chelsea happened to be on an upward trajectory for the majority of my fan status. So that's my story. Obviously, like the players also played a big role in it, but it wasn't like there's no sentimental thing like, oh, like they got this player that like I was like enamored by. Like, be honest, like I was like into like Thierry Henry and Ronaldo, all the superstars that kids would have been like drawn to at that time. So it's like I still want the Brazil jersey with the number 10 on it. Right. I'm still like jealous about like what's going on in AC Milan. Well, I guess that's way after the fact, thinking just about Ronaldinho. But anyway, that's my origin story. And yeah, I hate that I just said the word origin story on the internet. Like, I'm not Spider-Man.
No, but listen, the cool thing with both of you is that it's not, and this is, I think with any club in any sport, is that, you do have the people that jump on when they're winning. And, a lot of times, especially like within the last 10, 15, really 20 years or so, like if you're a Chelsea fan, it's almost like, okay, so when, but right. No, with both of you, it's like pre-Abramovich times, during through it all. So it's really cool. And there's nothing wrong with being, a Chelsea fan after the fact. It's just fun to kind of, take jibes at, the friends that are 5 years into it and they're like, oh, I'm a Chelsea fan. Like, they're the best. But it's cool to hear your stories and know where you come from and where the love, the passion comes from. So, I mean, listen, one of the best and most fun teams to watch in the last 20 years has been Chelsea too. So, even though I don't support them, I love to see the way that they come out and play football because it's always good.
And Brooks, I think the other thing you could add to that is they're one of the most accomplished clubs over the last 20 years as well.
20 years, yeah.
And
they are the most accomplished English club since the Roman Abramovich takeover. So that, I mean,
no question.
Them's the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, unlike other clubs in London, but we won't go that route.
Hey, listen, nothing wrong with that. I appreciate it. I like it. London needed some clubs in London needed a little bit of competition. So I'm glad that it was Chelsea to bring that. There's a different blue club that we won't speak of in this podcast, but happy that it's Chelsea that y'all two support.
Hear.
Sounds good.
Here.
Well, let's talk Chelsea then, since we got two Chelsea fans on the line right now. Let's talk Chelsea. So we know the whole situation, right? Ownership had to sell the club. There was conflict. There was war crimes. There was death. It was very sad, and the club also had to be sold, and that's minor compared to what was going on in the world. And football, it went on. Some point, U.S.-based consortium headman Todd Boehly buys the club, starts spending money, stupid money. So I just want to know, like, as a Chelsea fan, bro, like, where do you stand on Chelsea currently? Ownership, the board or lack thereof, transfer strategy, how we look in the table, coaching, players. Like, let's talk about it. Like, how do you feel about all of that stuff? Let's just start first off, ownership and their recruitment approach. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and Blaine, 100% agree with the way you set that up. As far as like football, there's so many things outside of football that got us here to this point, and it's really important to acknowledge the fact that this is a sport that we love, but it's all kind of stemmed from some not so great things that are happening in the world. So I send my thoughts and prayers and deepest sentiments to everyone in Ukraine that's fighting through. Hopefully we get some good news in the next coming months. So with that being said, as far as Chelsea, I am maybe it's my inner child, but I always have a very, very optimistic look at Chelsea. And I think that the facts as of right now is kind of justified that optimism, right? You have Todd Boehly and his consortium with a track record of being able to turn around franchises. That's just a fact, right? He has been able to do that in a different sport for sure, but organizationally, you can see sort of the things that he started to do at Chelsea that makes plenty of sense, right? That baseball strategy of getting recruits young, putting them through their farm system, and then potentially when they have value, either sell them off or plug them right into the first team. So you look at the signings of Cassidy or the Brazilian wonder kid. You look at Carney Chukwuemeka, who's actually starting to play first team football as of right now. Think of Batty Shield. Think of all of these players that they're picking up and moving into grooming. Essentially, it's a tough word to use, but grooming into being the next generation of Chelsea starters and superstars. So from that perspective, I love that, and I love taking advantage of the rules. 8-year contracts, right? Amortizing that. I mean, don't
that's
blame us. Don't blame us for doing the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just good business.
How hasn't anyone else done that? It's in the rules. Why might as well? So I love that. Now, there's been some things I know, like our British counterparts might talk about blowing up the existing structure, and I think that definitely has had an impact when we look at some of the injuries that we've had. When you're getting rid of trainers, people who have histories with players, people that have been a part of an existing structure, and you're bringing in new people that have to rebuild those relationships, might not be able to get that intimate connection with the players, which is very important from a rehab perspective. You might there's a higher chance that you'll see more injuries, and so I'm not sure I don't know how much blame I could put on them for that. The injuries this season have been wild, so it is important to point that out. But overall, when we look at this takeover, how they've done, the circumstances around the takeover, as far as like sanctions and things like that, and look at Chelsea, where Chelsea is as of right now, I think it's an overall positive, and you have to commend what they've done at an overall perspective rather than looking at the individual aspects and passing out criticism. So that's my point of view, and be interested to hear how you guys feel about that.
Go on then, Brooks. I know Brooks has something to say.
No, I think that I definitely agree with nearly everything that's been said. The thing that I think that a lot of fans don't understand is that you hit on it. First of all, Chelsea has been the most successful club in nearly all of Europe, but definitely England in the last 20 years, since they were purchased 20 something years ago. But the big thing that I want to touch on, that you kind of touched on a bit, is like, yeah, when Roman Abramovich left, there was a shakeup, and that's normal. When you talk about Everton right now wanted to get Bielsa to coach them, like, he brings his entire it's not, you're not just getting a coach, and that's like what a lot of people understand is like the dude's 12 million a year or something, but he brings literally everyone. So when you get him, you get his trainers, his staff, his athletic coaches, his physios, whatever, you get all of this stuff. And I think that for firing, or for an entire owner that spared zero expense for this club for over 20 years, there was going to be some sort of growing pains or hiccups or whatever you want to call it. But when you think about what happened to Man United when Alex Ferguson left, just a coach who granted a great coach and was there for a long time, and even the same thing with Arsenal when Arsenal left, or when Arsene Wenger left, that's a man, right? It's not a whole ownership structure. It's not blowing up the whole thing. It's a person leaving who's definitely a legend of and part of the culture of the club. But this was everyone, and so to be where they're at right now, I think that you're right. I'm with you. Like, overall, barring a lot of injuries, like an entire first team of injuries, which, you can back, I guess you have to bring that up, but I don't really know where the blame lies. Is it a World Cup year? Is it, what is it? We don't really know, right? But it does have to be mentioned. But overall, yeah, if you're a Chelsea fan, I've never had this for any club I support, even like, I never talk about my PSG story. That's my probably favorite, just because South American roots. I liked them before they were these like hype boys or whatever. But if you're a Chelsea fan, you have to be appreciative for what Todd Boehly's continuing to do. It's kind of like taking the reins from Roman, and still not afraid to spend money. Probably more in 6 months than possibly than Roman Abramovich ever spent in 6 months. I'm not sure, but I'm with you. I think that if you're a Chelsea fan, you need to understand there's going to be some growing pains. But these dudes are working through it as quickly as they can, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come to finish top 6 even this year. I know that it's only halfway through the season, which we'll talk about in a minute, but overall, they're making some incredible buys. You're right, they're young, they're going a great direction, which I think kind of Arsenal showed is a really great approach to it. And Chelsea, having the money, can do it even better, because they're not afraid to be like, oh, it's exactly 100 you want for this kid? Okay, we got it. They're not going to try to play hardball or whatever. It's like, this is the price. Okay, here, we'll pay this because we want this kid bad. So not a better time to be a Chelsea fan, really. It's looking good in the future, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. What more can I say besides, it's a beautiful thing. You get one billionaire owner replaced with a U.S. consortium, and you look at what happened to Arsenal. You look at what happened to Liverpool. And these clubs, historically speaking, after a U.S. takeover, haven't done as well. So at first you feel fear. Maybe you're a little bit angry. Then man starts shelling out those millions. Oh, Kukureya, Khalidou Koulibaly. Oh, you want the Ukrainian kid? We'll go get him.
Right.
Right back from Lyon. We need him because Reece James stays in the injury basket. We'll put him on loan and bring him back in June. Who else do we need? Badiashile, bam. Who else do we need? Oh, you want a French kid that didn't make it to the World Cup but almost has 20 goals in the Bundesliga named Christopher Nkunku? Boom. We got him on a contract. Bring him over in June. And I still think I think there may still be one more transfer this window.
Right.
A midfielder we desperately need because our, Conte's down bad. But, to show this kind of investment, I think is really good. The fans are like, okay, you're not like those other guys. You are willing to invest in this team. And to the point, that's what he does. He makes teams better, and it's not instant. He's looking like he's a manager or an owner, or a CEO that understands the process. He understands how to play the long game. Get the guys in young, build something. Maybe we don't make Champions League this year. Maybe we don't even make Europe. That's fine. He understands the concept of tanking. It's different, than, where there's a draft, but to still be like tanking in this sense is still being able to go get the big money transfers, put them on sensible contracts, and then say, we got, from now until the end of the 20s. So, basically six more seasons to make you guys come good. And this whole thing's like, if we just win a few, like a Champions League and maybe 2 leagues between now and the end of 2030, it would be a success. And
That's
everything
success,
would,
yeah,
that would be a success. So, yeah, I mean, I like what he's doing. I think some of the stuff that he's done has kind of like embarrassed us. Like he's coming in, he's talking about, yo, we should do an all-star game. It's like, yeah, this isn't, this isn't a franchise. Like the NBA is a franchise, basically. Major League Soccer is definitely a franchise. Like there's like a collective bargaining. There's no collective bargaining in the Premier. It's every man for himself. Like, why would I let my players go play next to your players in a charity match? Like, we'll auction off some signed jerseys and we'll just double the payment. Like, whatever it takes to not have our players get injured, we'll just write that check, Anyway, I feel like I'm babbling at this point. Let's keep the conversation moving. So I think maybe possibly we wanted to talk about, was it transfers? Was it the rivalry between Arsenal and Chelsea, even though there's really no argument there as of late? I mean, there's an FA Cup for, Arsenal. They might win the league. We're halfway through. I think they got what it takes, but I mean, where do you guys want to take this conversation? I can't lie. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot in my iPad.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Gonna lie.
I think that I know we've talked about this before in Todd Boehly's funny comments, but I just think that it's just to quickly finish that off. I don't think that if I was a Chelsea, it's fun to make fun of him as being an Arsenal fan or someone that doesn't support Chelsea, but let's look at these other American owners that have come in, like never showed face, not had really a care in the world about the club, not spent money, not cared about opening their mouth. It's embarrassing, absolutely, but this guy doesn't know football, right? I mean, he's kind of learning it and he's surrounding himself with the right people. He's bound to say some dumb things here and there, and it wasn't like it was like anything offensive. It was just something funny, and you move on from that. But it's part of the growing pains we talk about, right? He's learning too, he's growing too. So
it's almost like a Ted Lasso moment,
Right.
It is, and it's almost lovable.
Okay, so I know we don't want to spend too much time on this, but I have a very interesting perspective of this.
Okay, let's hear it.
And because I'm kind of happy that both of you all mentioned that it was embarrassing. I don't think so, and the reason I don't is I was listening to a quote by someone, I can't remember who it was, but it was like, if you want to tell how much money someone has, you look at the timelines that they use to discuss things, right? So if someone's like flat broke, he's like, hey, look, in 2 weeks, I need to do this and this so I can have the money to do this, right? You look at someone that like maybe has his life in order, has like mortgage paid down, something like that. He's probably talking about things in a year's time, right? But when you get to the level of Todd Boehly's, the Abramovich's, the Elon Musk, their timelines are more on the 10, 15-year breakdown, right? Because they know they're going to be fine up until for a period of time in the foreseeable future. So they're really trying to build things out for decades and decades to come. So when Todd Boehly says something like, "Oh, let's get an all-star team going," I think he's looking at things from an innovation perspective, and also because he's coming from the U.S. market, he understands the value that this all-star setup or framework brings in a sporting capacity.
Do you? Because I see no value in an all-star setup.
He's a boss. He is an owner and not a player or a fan. He's an owner.
And yeah, but I'm asking, what is it then?
Oh, absolutely.
It's okay to think it. I just don't know what it would be.
Revenue. Just take revenue, for instance. Take the NBA All-Star Game.
Which I'm going to, by the way.
Oh,
Salt Lake City this year, and we've secured 2 tickets.
I am not. I am saying this sarcastically. I'm not jealous at all.
Yes.
Um, but if you take the All Star, think about how big the All Star week is in
All-Star
the
weekend,
NBA.
man. All-Star weekend.
Holy crap!
Everyone flies in. Biggest NBA. It's bigger than the finals. If the finals wasn't a series, All-Star weekend. I bet All-Star weekend still makes more money than the finals.
Absolutely.
Even if you go to 7 games.
Absolutely. Every single player of note, every single historical player is there. I'm sure their strip clubs do very well. I'm sure
easy,
everything.
Relax,
If you think about like hotels, all these other things, like the cities do so well from having the All-Star team, just the All-Star game around. From a revenue perspective, it's insane.
Yemi, let me cut you off. So let's think back 2 weeks ago. There was an exhibition game against 1, Riyadh All-Stars, and 2, PSG. That has the term All-Star in it. Right. Do we know how much tickets were going for in that venue? I heard it was close to 2 mil. Like, this is like, that's what I heard. Tickets were going in excess of 2 mil.
Right.
To go to this one-off game against the Riyadh All-Stars and PSG. So, I mean, I agree with you. The revenue is there. And from a culture where an All-Star game is important, it would make sense. I feel like there is reluctance in England to go against the grain where they're like, oh yeah, like, why do we need an All-Star game? Like, why would I risk my players to do this or that? But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, it could be a good idea. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. From that point, I think it would be a great idea. The same way, like, when they brought up the Super League, like, if there wasn't, like, this permanent status and it wasn't covering up other things and it was, like, a pay-to-play scheme, like, the idea of seeing the best 20 clubs in Europe play on a more consistent basis is, for me, I would say that's as appealing as an all-star, like, a European all-star game. But what do I know?
And that's a great point. And I know, Brooks, you wanted to get the point in, but so that All-Star game or All-Star weekend concept is way more favorable than having the Super League, right? So Todd Boehly comes in and goes, oh crap, no one wants the Super League. Okay, cool. How about an All-Star game where, okay, let's say they just play kickball around. They're not going full speed or whatever, but you have a field then with Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland. You have, I don't know, Edouard Mendy in goal. You have N'Golo Kante, all playing on the same team against another stacked team from the Premier League.
Isn't that just Man City versus Chelsea?
Absolutely want to watch that. Well, yeah, for sure. But then you have Mo Salah. You know what I mean? You get that ability to just see, holy crap, look at what this sort of team would look like. Okay, now back to being rivals, and we're about to bust you guys up, right? I think from that perspective, you know, of course, Bournemouth fans and, you know, Sheffield Wednesday fans don't see their players there, but they already know, look, okay, my players aren't good enough to be there, and that's fine.
Yeah, but I think Kings don't send anybody to the All-Star game.
Cool.
I think that that's the point, is that I don't think it's like right or wrong. I love hearing your opinion. I think that your opinion is absolutely correct because it would bring in money to specific markets, though. And I think that that's where, you know, the issue of the Super League came into play at first, right? It was a select few clubs, some of which weren't even making Champions League. So they're like, let me get this easy money. And I think that would be sucky because I think that, for example, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, they have a pretty easy time selling out tickets. And if they really wanted to make money, then they would, you know, do something about potentially, I don't know, resellers, or then we could go on about even, you know, Nike values their shoes at 130, but on the secondary market, they go for $2-3 grand. So I think that the bigger issue would be those smaller market clubs that wouldn't have anyone playing. One, two, no one wants to travel to maybe Bournemouth to see an All-Star game if they were to host it. You know, I don't know. Brighton, probably, it's like coastal. But I think that it would obviously be incredible to see these things, you know, these teams stack up against each other. I just don't know. Like, the one question I have is, like, in American football, they have one, right? An All-Star game?
Yeah,
It's the
MLS
Pro
All
Bowl.
Stars versus whoever, like Bayern Munich or
No, the other one, the American football.
Yeah, so they have the Pro Bowl, and
oh yikes!
yeah, and that happens every year right before the Super Bowl.
So it's after the season.
Yes.
So no one's like hurt or whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
and this year they're actually going to be playing flag football, so they're not actually going to be playing actual American football. And
so I would be into something like a futsal or like a five-a-side, like 10 five-a-side teams or something where it's a lot less, you're going less at it. You're less prone to injury. I think something like that would kind of be fun.
Yeah. And
but anyway,
the Pro Bowl has done phenomenally well when it comes to selling tickets. It's like gives fans the ability to go out and actually see their favorite players, the best players in the league in a warm weather situation. So they go over to Hawaii or Orlando and they just play fun games. They get to interact. The players then become more marketable, and potentially, you have another instance that you could use to generate wealth, generate income, as well as put your brand and your players in front of other markets. So yeah, I don't know if we want to spend too much time on this, but like I think that when you say
he has a point, you're saying,
yeah, I think absolutely he has 100%.
Cool. I like to hear it.
So hold on, just to be clear. So, Yemi, you support an all-star game format in the Premier League if they could figure out a way to do it right, based off of this conversation. You're 100% in favor.
100%. I would not even limit it to the Premier League. But
we're just like La Liga could do, like not any league technically could do it, but it wouldn't have the same star power. Like in Spain, it would be, there's a few guys off of other teams, but it would mostly be El Clasico. In Germany, similar. Paris. Right. I don't feel like any other league would really have like the diversity. At least it would be like the top 4 teams split into merging in a sense with a few like flyers here and there, like James Ward-Prowse might come off the bench to take a set piece, but other than that, Southampton will have zero representation. But all I can say is I feel a little bit embarrassed after this conversation now because I said he's saying embarrassing stuff because it's perceived as he's an arrogant, ignorant American bringing American philosophy, playoffs, all this stuff. Yes. But to be fair,
their playoffs will be trash.
That would be trash. But to be fair, objectively thinking, like if the Premier League wasn't like if you didn't have to get sign off and it was just like, yo, we're gonna pick captains, and this will just be like treat it like a training session or a scrimmage, no sliding, and like players, like maybe you got 30 players on the bench, so like players will only play for 30 minutes each, and then there's waves, and. Yeah, I feel like that's actually there's a genuine you kind of turned me a little bit. I feel like there's a genuine argument to be made, and in the case for Bournemouth, if you knew, for example, all the All-Stars were going to Bournemouth from Friday to Sunday, and on Friday night they were going to have a charity game, kind of like they already do with some celebrities playing each other, Then there was going to be like a skills challenge on Saturday where they're doing on FIFA before you play, you're shooting for top bin, or maybe you're doing a rondo, or you're doing all these drills or skill based games. Or there's a crossbar challenge, the 3-point challenge, and you go from everywhere around. I think objectively speaking, that would be entertaining if it happened, instead of having an international break, or if you could find I feel like that's the problem, is finding a weekend where maybe early on in the FA Cup, if you could find a weekend where you could do this, I think that would be sufficiently entertaining. I feel like I've been sold. I want to see it now. I've been sold.
Oh, I'm on board. Gosh, it doesn't take much, does it?
No, the more I think about it, he's making really good points. Because think about it.
I agree. Yeah, but I also think the it's sufficiently good for, like you said, big clubs. Aside from an Ivan Toney and maybe a James Ward-Prowse, no one from 4 clubs are really going to benefit.
Yeah, which is. In America, again, Bournemouth doesn't, or Ivan Toney and Brentford, they don't profit off of the Conference League, the Europa League, the Champions League, but other teams do. And there's nothing preventing them from getting there. So if there was an all-star game and fans vote, like maybe we take the same approach, that fans pick a captain and fans pick rosters and then the captains pick the starting lineups. I mean, there's nothing preventing, Aston Villa from having players in there. If you have an all-star player, for example, they're like every season there's like one player, like for example, that's really good on a team that's really bad. Like James Ward-Prowse would definitely make someone's all-star team. Right. McAllister from Brighton and the South American kid is
Caicedo.
Yeah, like they would make an all-star team. Like Wilfred Zaha would make all of these. Like I think a lot more players than we're actually giving credit to. If we're having like 33-man rosters, those players would make an all-star team, and then those teams would get a cut of the revenue share. So I actually think, the more I think about it, it's actually a pretty solid idea. Because I mean, before, like Chelsea had like a handful of closed door friendlies against legitimate clubs. So it's like, why have a closed door friendly instead? I mean, you can still have a closed door friendly, but let's have an open door showcase, and they would make stupid money, and that would actually be good for Brighton. Like, oh yeah, now we don't have to sell McAllister because we just got 30 mil. Like our revenue share from this All-Star game was 30 mil. Like,
if it's revenue share, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it would have to work, because like in the
Even
NBA,
if
it's
their
collective
players aren't in
bargaining.
it.
No, nah.
So
I mean,
Norwich, if they ever get, they're never going to benefit from.
No, it's not that they never will. A few years ago, Timo Pukki definitely maybe 3-4 seasons ago, Timo Pukki was tearing it up. He would make it, so they would get a cut. But I mean,
Alexander Mitrovic is another example. Right?
Yeah, Fulham. Fulham
Grealish is another example.
Yeah,
right?
Lots of players would get shine. Yeah, like I mean, the list, like there's Ivan Toney, like the list goes on, and it's like, I mean, just think of it this way: like Brighton don't get a cut of Chelsea's Champions League proceeds, or even any of their qualification money. So it's like, why would they get money from an All-Star game if they don't contribute? It's like there's
it's Premier League, so they should. Not Champions League.
Well,
right?
it would, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Premier League. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have it, because like I feel like that's the part where maybe there's confusion. Because like in America, it's like the NFL has the Pro Bowl, the NBA. So there is, but like again, these are like corporations, and each team is considered a franchise. So it's like all under the same umbrella. We all wear Nike uniforms. We all wear Stance socks. We all like use this vendor. Where it's like Premier League, it's like, yeah, if you want to send your player, you can send your player and you will be eligible for that share. But if you don't, it's like, like it's not our fault that you don't have an all-star. It's, it's like, but the likelihood is you probably will, because most lower clubs always have a breakout star every so often that gets sold on for big money. And this would be an opportunity for them to get a little bit more money out of said player before said player leaves.
Yeah.
And looks for a better future or a better opportunity to support their family. I think that's what someone said. And I'm like, yeah, like it makes sense. And it's like, if you can do something to help your club feel better about letting you go on to a better opportunity because you played in an all-star game, like start writing contracts differently. Gosh, I'm a believer now. I'm a believer. Like if I'm an all-star,
so funny.
like my release clause like goes down by 25%.
Yeah, man. But I mean, now you're like negating actually playing. Like Moises Caicedo is being found. Jack Grealish was found. He did bring a record fee for his, how good he is for Aston Villa, and Moises Caicedo. Well, he did, but
I'm saying Aston Villa could have made more money because Jack Grealish would have been an all-star.
100 million, you think?
Just more. I'm just saying, like, if they made 100 million off the sale, and if they made 5 pence off of him going to the All-Star game, I'm just saying that's more money. That's all I'm saying is more money. They like for 3 or 4, probably, let's be realistic, 6 seasons before he went to Man City, he would have been a bona fide all-star. Jack Grealish. Like Declan Rice would be in that squad. Like guys like Jared Bowen would have been like all of these types of guys.
Okay. Jared Bowen.
Yeah. Chill,
No, I'm just saying he could.
chill.
I'm just saying he would have been he could have been like a third or fourth option coming off the bench late in the game, but he would still like the same way like a rookie is considered. Like you go to the All-Star game, you're not the All-Star, but you are there. Right. In that game, because obviously the superstars don't play the whole game, but you would get a shake, and for for the shake that you give, okay, West Ham just they just made 15 million off of this appearance, and you guys played like a total of 20 minutes, and that's 15 million they didn't have before, and what are they out? Nothing.
I just wonder, I think that's what friendlies are for. And I think that they make so much money more in like for example, Chelsea, when they come to the States, I wonder how much more money, that brings in a ton of money for these people that'll never going to go to England that don't care.
Yeah, that's essentially an all-star game. So that think of that. Yeah. Think of an exhibition in America, but instead each club gets this in the player. Because guess what? Brighton doesn't make any money off of friendlies. They don't, like when Arsenal and Chelsea played in Florida this summer, Brighton didn't get any cut from that. Neither did Norwich. Neither did Aston Villa. Like, so if there was an all-star game, they potentially could because no one's excluded. It's not like an exhibition where
they can schedule a friendly.
No one's going. No one's going to an Aston Villa friendly against Northern.
You never know.
Town.
You never know. Those guys. Those Villa fans.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't discredit the Villa fans.
Well, okay, they might go, but it's not going to make a difference. It's it's like summer league in the NBA or a season or a preseason game. Like when the Lakers have a preseason game, they're like that revenue doesn't even compare to their season opener. So if you think Aston Villa would make more money in a preseason friendly versus if they sent Jack Grealish to the All-Star game, I mean, economically, this is a good idea. I am a believer, and everyone could make money. But again, it's not a charity, so it's not it's not a charity because if we look at it the same, we look at an exhibition or a tour in China or a tour in North America. It's like smaller clubs don't get to participate. It's not that they can't afford to charter a jet and come over here and play, but it's like if realistically, like if Everton came over here and said, "Yo, we're in Philadelphia." And we're going to be playing, the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
That game might not, like, for example, I know Man U and Inter and a bunch of other clubs come to RSL about once a season and do an exhibition against RSL. And those games do really well not because of RSL, because we see them all season. It's because, Man U is here. We want to see Man U play. And their all-stars only play the first 30 minutes of the game and then they walk off. But everyone was still willing to pay to come see those all-stars play. So that's essentially the same thing, but I mean, not as great for the fans. Like no one's going to fly in to see that. But if it was like, like all the all-stars from the Premier League are going to be in Philadelphia this weekend, which, I mean, I'm not advocating for an all-star game in Philly. But if that were the case, it's like anyone that cares about football stateside, they would all come to Philly because they're like, yeah, man, like this is going to be a party. Like we're going to be here all weekend. We get to see all these events. We get to be around. We get to go to see training sessions. And it's not just training sessions for like Jack Grealish and, 10 other guys that you don't care about on Aston Villa. It's, I'm sold. Brooks, I hate that you hate it, but I'm sold.
Listen, the thing is, we can't have three people on the same podcast all agreeing. That conversation would have gone nowhere, So we have to have some sort of devil's advocate.
100%.
And the second thing, sorry, go ahead, Yemi.
No, I was agreeing with you 100% on that.
But also, so just to touch on your like embarrassing comments, Blaine, I think that what was mostly embarrassing, and I mean, as an American, Argentine, Spanish, whatever, like I'm American, I have roots, Todd Boehly being an American owner and saying that Chelsea's youth club raised the likes of Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne. That was embarrassing.
That was embarrassing. So. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I mean, he did say plenty of embarrassing stuff and will continue to say more embarrassing stuff. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's not afraid to speak and to stand up, and that's cool,
And he puts his money where his mouth is.
He puts a lot of money out there. Yeah.
A lot of money, which, It is what it is.
So that was a lot of All-Star chatter. That was like 25, 30 minutes on the All-Star.
It was beautiful conversation. I love it.
We got the London
really
All-Stars. We got the London All-Stars, man. I can see it now.
Oh,
it would be cool like that. If you break it up by like, is the London ones, this is the, you know, Midlands, this is, I don't know, that there could be a way that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean,
but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's, okay.
100%. North, south, east, west, I don't know, just break it up, tournament style, 2 games, right? You get more representation, 30 players per team, right? Now, now, if you set it up in quadrants or something like that, or just like, kind of like how the All-Star game is going now, where you have 4 captains, they all pick, rotate. Right now you have a lot more slots for representation. So now the chances of Brighton getting a couple of players in, the chances of Fulham getting a couple of players in, right? Those all go up, which potentially then means more money for everyone else. And I love the point that Blaine was making, where, okay, I can now write in the contract, okay, I got this kid from South America. If you make one of these, here's a couple more incentives. Or if you make one of these, your release clause is this, and now you can ask for whatever buying club, you can ask for this much money from them because, hey, look, I made an All-Star, right? When you talk about, you look at football, American football, they say, yeah, does this guy deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Well, let's look at his career. 15 All-Star game appearances, right? That adds a secondary level of accolades to your name, which then could be leveraged for other things in your career as well. I think it's a good idea, but maybe that's just
and
me.
the last thing,
bro, ahead, we on All-Star. I'm starting the campaign.
So the last thing I'm going to say, just because, you know, can't again, but I think that we've talked about, at least on this channel, like, what the heck is the Nations League? It was nothing. It was a friendly tournament. Now it's like a recognized FIFA tournament. Like, I just feel like that would be another, if we make it, especially if you make the All-Star game, like a format now. Now it's like, well, now where does this fall into is it recognized? Is it, I don't know. There's just a lot of logistical things that I guess would have to be worked out.
Semantics. We'll figure all that when we get to that.
All right, what's up? What's next?
Legitimately, I feel like, I mean, between that, I mean, I feel like we talked a lot about, you know, the spending. Let's just talk about, I mean, we could wrap up and say, where do we think Chelsea's going to pan out this season? You know, is their future bright? And then I guess we could speculate about, you know, a little bit about.
Yeah, because I do want to get both of y'all's opinions on Graham Potter, because what Brighton has going right now is amazing, and it's, you know, essentially a lot of it is thanks to Graham Potter. Mm-hmm. Brighton is are they in 6th right now? I think they're in 6th place right now. Obviously, we can't take anything away from De Zerbi. Is that his name? Their Italian coach right now, who's continuing to get results with them. Brighton, last couple of years, you guys have brought this up, had some great players that they've ended up selling on, making some money, and they continue to develop, and they continue to kind of impress in the Premier League. So obviously Graham Potter did great work with Brighton, but I am interested in this day and age, and especially from fans of a club who, if the owner doesn't matter, if he's a legend in Frank Lampard, if you're not getting results week in and week out, you're gone. So what do you think? Because now it's kind of getting like fashionable to kind of like, okay, well, we'll hold on a bit to Mikel Arteta and see if he can bring us something. Yeah. So what do you think? Should they hold on to him? Is he gonna come good? What's up with Graham Potter?
Yeah, I can start on this. So here's the thing, right? We have new ownership now, and this is a plant from the new ownership. This is not someone that they inherited. They got rid of Thomas Tuchel, right? They have a plan. They have goals. And again, we're talking about 5-10-year goals rather than the immediate goals. And so what Chelsea fans are really used to right now is Chelsea being top 4 minimum, right? Okay, one off year, but then everybody goes. Maybe we have 2 good years but the manager's now starting to gain a little bit of a big head. Get him out of here, right? That's what Chelsea is used to. That Chelsea fans are used to. This new ownership is playing the long game, and what that means is they're going to stick with their guy, and I believe that that is the right choice. Graham Potter has been, his track record speaks for itself. He's able to get subpar players playing well defensively, and he's able to build out a structure that can potentially win and beat the odds. So when we're talking about Chelsea and their team right now, their best players are out. I mean, I think Chelsea's best player is Reece James, and if you look at, there we go.
I agree.
He's probably, I think he's one of the best players in all of England. And if you look at Chelsea with and without Reece James, it's like the difference between I don't know, Manchester City and Bournemouth. It's that bad. I mean, you have someone that's your best defender outside of, let's say, Thiago Silva, and your best offensive player.
You can still get it.
Right. And so, yeah, of course they're going to stink when they lose their 10 of their best 11 players. Of course they're going to stink. But what you see from Graham Potter is he's not afraid to make changes. He's not afraid to get a team and put them in a position in I think the best possible position based on where they are. So the only real concerns that I have with Graham Potter is offensively. He in Brighton, when he was in Swansea as well, he's always had a lack of offensive output with his teams. They do okay. I mean, they, like, Brighton scored some goals, but if you look at even when it was at Brighton, it was a lot of trouble scoring goals, and that's what Chelsea's issue was as well. With under Tuchel, under Lampard, they played great defense, but just not much output going forward. So I'm curious to see how he's going to address that. They've bringing in Nkunku, Modric, Noni Madueke, Fofana, right, and potentially getting even more players in, right? You talk about a midfield player that can get in the box and score goals with, Enzo Fernandez. We'll see how he handles the Mason Mount. What does he play? Is he a winger? Is he a number 10? Is he a number 8? Right. Yeah. But overall, I think that everyone in the Prem should be very concerned about Chelsea moving forward once they get things rolling, once people become healthier, and really looking forward to the future of this team.
From my perspective, I don't have I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't watch Graham Potter a whole lot when he played at Everton or when he coached Brighton Hove. I know he took Tyreke Lamptey off of us. That's how you know he's smart. I think we're stupid for letting Tyreke Lamptey go. Okay, there's not much I can add to what Yemi said, right? Best players are consistently injured. Maybe chalk that up to bad medical staff that aren't getting their bearings. But if we can get people healthy, get a full preseason under GP, there's nothing that indicates that we wouldn't. I think, Brooks, I was telling you this off camera. There's nothing that indicates to me that we will not see success in the future. Like, all the pieces are there. Yeah. Like, Liverpool struggling, they don't have money, right? Man City are apparently bored of winning. Well, maybe they'll figure that out. Who knows? Also, I mean, there's only so much longer Pep's going to stick around if they don't win a Champions League. And I don't see Man City winning a Champions League, if I'm being perfectly honest with you people. Okay, that leaves Chelsea. You look at Dave Roberts, what he's done as the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's remarkable. I don't know if Graham Potter is the equivalent to Dave Roberts, but I know there is an equivalent. And if it's not Graham Potter, I know we will find that manager, and I know we will back that manager. And I know, like whether it's Graham Potter or not, I know Chelsea will be successful within the next 5 years. They will be in contention for titles. They will be in contention for trophies, and they'll also continue to attract and be in contention for the best players around the world. So, again, I don't love Graham Potter. I don't know much. I mean, I know he did great things at Brighton. It's not like I watched him. I don't know what his philosophy is. I've yet to really see a real philosophy under him. But also, we've been kind of, jammed up ever since he came aboard. So I would, me personally, I'm like, don't give him at least a full 2 seasons to see if he can come good. And I don't see why, there's nothing that says that he won't do that or that he's not capable. And Grant, he's never been to a Champions League game before he went to a Champions League game with us. Stuff like that makes me laugh. But at the same time, it's like that same level of fairness. It's like, I don't know what I'm getting into, so I'm just going to put my best team forward. And, this is my hot take for the day. Chelsea are out of every competition this year except for Champions League, and I see no reason why they couldn't make a late run if they can get through the round in February, and we get all our players firing. I see no reason why we couldn't win the Champions League this season. That's how good our squad is and can be, in my opinion. Bomb the season. Only play Reece and Ben Chilwell in the Champions League. I feel like we could. That's how I feel. I'm just being real.
Hey, look,
that's how I feel.
And then there's I don't know, probably one of the greatest players when you talk about a single Champions League run in the history of the Champions League in N'Golo Kante, where he essentially played 8 games and won 8 straight man of the match. What are we talking? This player has not played all season. This player has not been playing. He's widely considered one of the best defensive midfielders in Premier League history, and he's not on the field. And we're going to sit here and say, fire the head coach? Or we say, it doesn't make any sense. This has been a jammed up team. Exactly how you put it. Jammed up. I mean,
jammed up.
You talk about Cucurella got hurt for a bit. Then you're playing Harvey Vale, who is a left-footed 18-year-old midfielder.
He did the best he could. He did the best he could.
What are we talking? We're talking about Carney Chukwuemeka, my Nigerian brother. I love you, my guy. But he's 19 years old?
Yeah, he's a boy. He's still a boy.
Right. What are we talking about? And he wasn't even playing for Villa. He wasn't even playing. And
now you got to come on and put on the big boy shirt.
Lineup. Yeah. Come on. You can't look at Graham Potter and then go, yeah, he's got to be out. Oh, we lost to Fulham because Joao Felix, who was having an amazing game, lost his head.
I forgot about my brother Joao.
But I think the issue, I would say this point is because, and I know someone mentioned this earlier, because British fans are not really used to seeing Chelsea bad or seeing a big club like that be subpar. It's very jarring, and they want change, and they okay, send everybody out. But if you look at the NFL, for instance, I'm a Bengals fan, right?
Yeesh.
And the Bengals have been trash ever since I was a Bengals fan. I mean,
but this their year.
Right. This is it, right?
It's their year right now.
But think about all those years of absolute horrible Andy Dalton, John Kitna playing, you know what I mean? And ultimately getting up into a point where you've brought in new coaching staff, new training staff, new players that were signed over a period of time, a new quarterback. That's sort of what Chelsea is doing right now, and they're only 10th. They're rebuilding and they're 10th with injuries out the wazoo. I think you give him a shot, you let him play. You're already starting to see that, okay, they've moved away from the back 5. They're in the back 4 now. They're looking sturdier. Badiashile is looking like a bona fide starter, which is amazing.
He's a bona fide starter. I love him.
And so we'll see. We'll see what happens with goalie. We'll see what happens with midfield. But we essentially have our starting strikers and attack. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun ride.
Man, kill all the noise. Let's get into it. Give me your idea Chelsea starting lineup for the 2023-2024 season.
Yes.
Give it to me right now.
Okay.
Give it to me.
So I understand.
Sensibly and realistically. So
yeah,
sensibly based off, imagining we buy a few players in the summer, I'm gonna call a flag on the play if I feel like embellishing our opportunity here, but give it to me.
Okay, so I say we'll do a back four because that's what we've been playing over the last over the last, I don't know, couple of weeks or so. So in goal, I'm sorry to say this, Kepa out. I want Edouard Mendy. Edouard Mendy is going to regain his form. I know he's not very good with his feet, but we will. I think with the team around him, with Thiago Silva, we'll make that happen. So Edouard Mendy in goal. Okay. Reece James, right back, best right back in the history of football. Just kidding. Best right back in the league, best right back in Europe. Thiago Silva for now, but it's going to be replaced by Wesley Fofana. Badia Shield in partnership, left-footed center back. Right, left back, Ben Chilwell. That's his sort of natural position. He tends to play very well in that, and they do a really good job of sliding to a back three and letting either one of those right backs go forward. So I really love that. Okay, midfield. We'll go with a midfield three, but we can also go with a midfield pivot, double pivot, and get some players forward. But we'll do three. N'Golo Kante, Enzo Fernandez, and Mateo Kovacic, or Mason Mount. And I'll talk maybe a couple of seconds about that. I think Mason Mount, you look at him when he played very well with the England squad, he was playing sort of in that number 8 position where it was Declan Rice as a 6, and it was Mason Mount and Jude Bellingham running in the middle. I think that's his ideal position. He needs to regain some form as well, but playing him up top, he just doesn't have the movement and the directness that you would want from an attacker. So I would say you have him play deeper. So if he's playing deeper, I would go with him. I would go with Mount, Enzo, and N'Golo. And then top front three, Modric. Oh my God. This guy is going to tear it up. I'm calling it right now. He's going to tear it up. I'm anticipating, 15 goals a season type of player with like 10 to 12 assists. I think he is that kind of guy. He's that kind of work ethic, and he wants it. He's got neck tats, so he's a baller. And then you have striker. This is where I'm torn. Okay, we'll do the other side. The other side is either Sterling or Nani.
I'm so excited to see what Nani can do.
100%. That's another one of my Nigerian brothers. I want to see what he can do. Yeah.
Am I allowed to say he's my Nigerian brother too? Can I say that?
Go for it. We're all Nigerian brothers. Brooks,
that's my Nigerian brother.
And then striker, this is where I'm torn. Okay. But I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say Nkunku, and we'll see if he can actually play up top by himself. There's Joao Felix that can play, of course, on left or right. There's Kai Havertz that hopefully can play in a 10 role. We'll see how that works. Or with 2 up top. But I'm really interested in seeing Nkunku play up top, because historically at Leipzig, he's been coming in, he's been bombing in from midfield. And then once he started scoring a ton of goals, he got sort of moved up forward. He was doing very well, but I don't know if that's his natural position. So especially with Chelsea's lack of goal scoring over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm not sure if we need to bring in like a top bona fide striker. But I think for now, that's going to be my starting 11. And I know I rambled a bit, so let's just recap. Goal, Edouard Mendy. Defense is Reece James, Fofana, Badiashile, and Chilwell. Midfield would be, I'll go with Conte, Enzo, and Mount. Left is Modric. Right is Noni, and up top Nkunku.
It's a beautiful lineup. That's a beautiful lineup. Like I'm sitting here, I took notes. I'm looking at your lineup, brother. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to think, what would I do differently? And honestly, like Mendy in goal, sure, no problem. I feel like and this is where it gets tricky for me. So like the back line looks good. Like Silva signed an extension, keep him around. He's one of the best defenders in the league, like top 3. Him and the French boy, I think they play so well together because he's fluent in French, he be talking that French to him all game. See if we play. I don't know how, but he's speaking, because I looked at it, I'm like, bro's really balling out, and he's like running for Thiago, and I'm like, he I don't think he speaks English. Does he speak English? And I'm like, well, he was the captain of PSG on the other side, so I'm like, he doesn't need to speak English. He got a father figure that's speaking to him in his native language with a Brazilian dialect. You know what I mean? So the back line looks solid. If we got Enzo Fernandez, that's solid. Mason Mount playing on the other side. So it's the Conte part where I'm like, okay, yeah, he's been our best player for one of our best players, and the best player definitely in our Champions League run. Like man of the match performance, but he should I don't know if he got player of the tournament. But I don't know what he's going to look like coming back. And I'm a big advocate for Declan Rice. So I'm saying if Conte can't recover, and there's rumors that you could get Declan Rice for about 75 to 80. I know the British tax is real. But if we got enough money, if we could get Enzo and my man Declan, that's the only difference I'm making. If Conte can't come back good, Enzo, Declan, Mason Mount in the midfield. And then, I mean, as far as talent goes, Nkunku, he got to play that false 9. Mudrik's doing his thing. I mean, I've only seen one highlight in one game. I'm talking about his Champions League against Celtic and then him playing against Liverpool. That's what that's all I'm going off of. Let him play on the left. And then I love, I don't know. I'm already a fan of Nani. I've never seen him play a game a day in my life. I've just been watching the interviews and reading the tabloids. And I'm like, bro, I'm a fan. Right. I'm getting your jersey already. I know nothing about you. I'm getting your jersey in the 2023-24. So I'd like to see him also be given a substantial amount of time to make that right flank his own and leave it at that. Like, don't, give him like a run of 10, 15 games and let's see what can happen. And, and that's all I'm adding to it is basically Declan Rice in the event that Conte can't come back and be that same powerhouse, that workhorse, that little make runs last minute and score crazy goals, make last ditch efforts before they penetrate the back line, take a yellow card if it's necessary, like just all around team player, world warrior. But, if he can't come back, go get Declan. I'm sure there's better players. I'm also just a fan of Declan. So go get Dex, and that's all I can really say.
Yeah, Brooks, before you jump in, I wanted to say as well, I am a fan of Declan Rice. However, I don't know if Declan Rice is worth the price. Number one.
Whew. All right, so the same thing as you a couple weeks ago. Blaine had the same reaction.
Yeah, he's not. He's not worth the price, but it's not my money. And if he is a man for the job, but that role, and that man is not an 80 million job. It's like 80 million is for an attacking player that makes contributions in the form of assist, or in product finishing. A guy that's screening for the back line and occasionally making a run up or getting a good pass in. Like, you're one of the best in your position, but you're not worth 80K. And you'll never live up to that price tag. You'll never. Like, it's just the role's not sexy enough to live up to that price tag.
So how about this then? Like, we think about this. Is it then worth trying to get a a less expensive player in that number 6 position, and then making a bigger splash for someone like Jude Bellingham.
Bruh. It's my boy.
Yes.
We love Jude. Bro, I didn't say Jude because I think that's too much. I mean, our ambitions are high, but listen, as Jude's personal advisor, I'm advising him to go to Man City or Real Madrid. I am advising.
Way.
That's my advice to him. Go somewhere where you know you will be cemented as one of the greats in history. Go do it big. But if you want to come play for Chelsea, please do. I don't know that I would. Like, as a fan of Jude Bellingham as a person, I'm like, yeah, like, you're gonna win here. The road might be bumpy in the beginning, but I feel like you deserve, like, this is how highly I regard him. I feel like you deserve to walk into a team and start with, like, you did your prohibition at Borussia Dortmund. Now you deserve to walk into a team where you're going to be contending from day one. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So here's we'll jump in and I feel bad, Brooks. So this is the last point. I understand that, but think about the type of player that Jude Bellingham is. Do you genuinely believe that he's gonna want to go to Manchester City, that's already been winning championships, already been winning the league, or like Real Madrid, and just be a part of an all-star team? Or would you believe that he wants to? Because look at the way he plays, the way he talks, the way he's so
leader.
Defiant when it comes to. He's like, he literally gets in front of the cameras and says, "Yeah, when you give a game like this of this magnitude to a referee that has match fixed before, but like, think about the guts that he has to say that, right? That's not the type of player that's going to say, all right, I'm just going to sit the bench like Calvin Phillips and win the league."
No, he's not sitting on the bench. He's not sitting on the bench, though. He's going to play.
I'm saying, but I understand. But like, he's not going to be content going to a team that's already been winning. I think that as young as he is, he's going to want to go to a team, contend, fight, try to be a part of like this like defiant air that he sort of walks around with. And then after that, he takes the Eden Hazard route, and then, all right, now I want to go play at the Galacticos
after he's established.
Much. Yes,
bro. Let's pray. Let's pray. I hope you're right. I would love it. I would love if that were the case, and let's hope it is. But let me offer one more alternative in the event that doesn't happen. And say Enzo Fernandez is our last, and then Boehly's like, the purse is sealed up. Mm-hmm. Reece James, when he was at did he go on loan to, was it Reading? Or was it Derby? It was Reading.
I believe it was Derby. Yeah, he went to Derby.
Okay, wherever he went, there was a point where he was playing CDM. He wasn't playing right back. He was playing in the midfield defensively. Mm-hmm. That's how much I believe in this guy. So the guy we just signed from Lyon and sent back to play right back, if he's as big as they say he is, 30, 35 mil, maybe he's now right back. James can play in the midfield.
Yeah.
He could do the job. He
100%.
He can do whatever he wants. I was going to say, he can do whatever he wants.
Striker, goalie, he can play anything. I'm telling you, he is the best player at Chelsea by far. If coach wants to play him at CM, CDM, right back, left back, go ahead. Listen, as long as he's on the field,
it doesn't matter. Exactly. That's how big he is. All right, I'm getting chills now. All right, Brooks, what you got to say about all of this? We're having fun now.
The only thing that I think that I will say, obviously, I'm not as invested to like actually care about who starts 23-24 for Chelsea.
Sure.
But the thing that I will say about kind of like what has been talked about is in the Graham Potter thing is like you all brought up a really good point where Chelsea is on a different level right now. They are a different club than the one that was owned just a year ago. And I do like the direction they're going in. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like Chelsea in the past, with the Abramovich money, bought proven players. They bought ready-made stars that could just fit in and either score goals or stop goals or create or whatever. Now the philosophy is a bit different. So I hope that they do stick with Graham Potter. And to Blaine's point, yeah, if he's not the man, which kind of looking like he probably is, then they will go find him. But he's got a big task at hand, because not only does he have this squad already, and it's an injured squad, but they're buying like 20 dudes, 20 players a transfer window. Right. So he's got a lot to sift through and to work through. And then on top of that, I don't think this will happen, because it's Chelsea and it's Todd Boehly, and I think that there's a ways to go until this happens. But we're seeing it a little bit with Man United. It happened with Arsenal. If they don't get back to where Chelsea should be and will be in a season, let's face it, they do then face the fear of maybe people saying, "Ooh, Chelsea's still not in Champions League. I don't want to go there. It's not, looking like." That's not going to happen. We had Eric Ten Hag out there, and he had issues bringing Eriksen in. It was kind of like down to the wire, where he wanted to meet up with his old coach at Man United. It was like, dude, what? Anthony kind of was the same thing till he was bought for near 90 million. So I don't think that's going to happen with Chelsea. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I think that they'll fix that before what happened to Man U and Arsenal happens. They're in good hands.
Where you fall out of you're no longer relevant because you haven't played in Europe for so long, to where you got to pay extra on top of that just to get people to because it's not like this was an off year and we're back. It's we're just cruising at 7 and 8. Which,
exactly.
I mean, I guess those are the optics, but that's whatever people see and hear. That's what's real. It's like, oh no, actually,
if it happens, it's one season for you.
Yeah,
I think. If you're not top 6 this season, I think it's only for this season, and you're back up to top 4 for who knows how long.
Yeah,
I think it's a one-off season, and I do think, to Yemi's point, it's only halfway through their 10th. 10th isn't bottom of the barrel. They can still make it. The race for top 4 is pretty congested in those, top 6 teams. But Chelsea can sneak up into some European places.
Do we really believe that Arsenal is going to actually do something here?
This is what I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about it then. What you got, Yemi? Can Arsenal do it?
Absolutely not. No, they're the baby brother. They will always be the
shots
baby brother.
fired.
They will. Listen, I am a big fan. We talk about my Nigerian brothers, but Bukayo Saka. What he's doing
God's child
is
star boy.
Nothing more
God's child, that's true,
than incredible. You watch that game against Manchester United, and every time he touched the ball, you're as a Chelsea fan, I'm excited I'm excited to see Arsenal lose, but every time he touched the ball, I'm dude, it just. He gives you the feels, and I sort of liken it to some of the times where I was watching Chelsea, and I'm like, okay, stop it, just pass it to Hazard, just give him the ball, right?
Give the man,
and I love the way that they're playing. You look at players that might have been written off before, like Xhaka, Thomas Partey, who was couldn't stay healthy. List, right? Even players like even players like Saliba, who I thought, okay, this is not your time. You can't play, right? Maybe
really?
you need to maybe have a little bit more experience in the French league. They're playing fantastic. They're playing well, but it's still Arsenal.
So you've been, I try to stay respectful as often as I can, but you've been making too many digs at Arsenal for this whole time. Let's just bring up the fact that Arteta alone is 6-1-2. So Chelsea can't beat Arsenal when Arteta's at the helm, first of all. Second of all, Arsenal have made more trophies and have beat Chelsea more times. So I'm just saying this, he's brought it up. I'm not going to let it, I can let it slide a number of times, but when he calls him the little brother, it's got to stop, because Chelsea's only really been in the picture for the last 25 years. Let's relax.
No, bro, honestly. listen. This is, let me say, how I see things. When we're talking big bros, little bros, there's a moving scale.
I didn't bring up big brother, little brother. Let's keep Let's keep that in check.
All I'm saying is there's a moving scale, and it's always this is how I feel. It's always convenient to be oh yeah, my team was a dynasty, back then. Like, I feel like we got to just look at things recently. And that was I'll say it. That was disrespectful to call you guys the baby brother. You know what I mean? But
am I wrong though?
He does have a point, Brooks. I mean, we've never been invincible, but it's like what have you done in the last decade? We just got to look at this thing, in a vacuum. We're not talking about a lifetime achievement awards. This is not.
I don't know what you're talking about. So that's why we got to bring this up. That's the jabs have been coming. They've been coming. And now I got you on the ropes and I had to attack. So let's just go.
I will respond to that. If we're talking about the Invincibles, we're talking about legendary players. Of course, Arsenal's in that conversation. Of course, this is like we can't do that. Of course, 100%. But like, if we honestly think about this, over the last 10 years, like Arsenal making the Champions League.
It's just funny when you bring up recent. 10 years ain't recent. What phone were you using 10 years ago? So recent is what?
iPhone 3GS.
10 years? Really recent?
3GS.
Okay, what's the timeline you've been like, Brooks? Please tell me.
No, I'm not the one that's bringing this up. So 3GS. I'm just going to keep defending because I'm being attacked by two blues right now.
I don't think you're being attacked. I think that I'm just. If you feel attacked for us spitting the facts, then maybe. But no. But I think you have a good point. Arteta's been doing very well, and I can admit to that. And I can as much as I hated it. I thought that Arsenal played so well against Manchester United. I thought that Arsenal in big games have been stepping up, scoring goals late. They've been.
That's the difference. Even during the last run of Arsene Wenger's era, Arsenal was not winning, stepping up in big games.
Yes.
Manchester United, just the thought of Manchester United would scare them. Just the thought of Chelsea, and they would go down 5-1 before the half even ended. Right. So yeah, I like what they're doing currently, and that's why I hope that they continue with Graham Potter Chelsea, because I think that Chelsea Graham Potter can be that Arsenal now, or for Chelsea. Now let me just say, yes, obviously. But I've said this at least 4 times in this podcast. For the last 20 years, there's been no one more successful in world football aside from Real Madrid, than Chelsea.
No, for sure.
And they have to have the respect. They have to have the credit. They have to have the recognition. They've been incredible.
Yeah.
So this is
the point, great. and I agree with you 100%. And like this isn't obviously it's not contentious.
No, I'm joking.
We know each other a long time, but my point is it's not that Arsenal isn't playing well right now. It's not that. We can all see that they're at the top of the league. They've been at the top of the league for a number of weeks now. They have been very consistent. They don't give up that many goals, and they are putting the ball in the back of the net. That's exactly what you want. My point is with the young players. Consistency over a larger period of time with multiple competitions, is that something that we believe as of right now that we can see them do? And
that's a tough question to answer.
And so because we don't know, all we can do is we can try to project what we've seen in the past over to the future, and based off that, right, with the current players, is that something that's going to happen? Is Granit Xhaka going to get a red card in a big game, right? Is, I don't know, Aaron Ramsdale going to make a critical mistake in a big game, right? Like these sorts of things are questions that we should ask. And I don't think it's a jab on Arsenal to say it, because at the end of the day...
I don't think it is either. I don't think that at all.
Of course. Because at the end of the day, if we were asked the same question about Chelsea, well, can N'Golo Kante play in a big game? What are we talking about, right? Like, can Chelsea score? In a big tournament? Can they win consistently on the road in a big tournament to take home the trophy? Of course, but we just don't. We don't have that same sample. We don't have that same evidence for Arsenal, and so as a Chelsea fan, I'm gonna be very optimistic to Chelsea, and that's kind of how we are. That's kind of where we are as of right now, at least.
No, and as an Arsenal fan, Blaine asks me the question. Blaine's gone. Blaine asks me the question every week. Can Arsenal do it? And I've always said, don't ask me this question. Like, I'm not going to be one of these Arsenal fanboys that are on YouTube saying that, Arsenal is going to win the title, after week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because it's not realistic, especially as you point out, knowing the Arsenal that we've been watching for the last 10 years. What I will say is what you've touched on already is that the Arsenal that we're watching this year, break away all the 9 years, is a completely different Arsenal. And they would have they wouldn't have drawn against Newcastle. They would have lost against Newcastle 2 weeks ago. They wouldn't have lost 1-0 to Man City and played a way better first half to Man City and then lost to pretty much a Pep designed goal. Mm-hmm. They would have lost 5-1 or something, a few years ago. So the progress that they're making is incredible. My issue with Arsenal right now is that it's mental. It's mental in the fans' minds. It's absolutely mental in the players' minds. Do you know that, like, at some point, these, like you said, these young kids that haven't really been at it for too long, granted, these young kids now have been the stars for 3 years of this team, but it's going to maybe come down to the wire where it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, we saw it last season. They had to win one game to make Champions League. Just one. And they couldn't do it. So while they're playing better and while it's so fun to finally be excited about an Arsenal team again, Grace is like, why are you an Arsenal fan? Like, why do we do this to ourselves? And I'm like, this season, I'm like, this is why. This is it. But so to answer that question, I still think that you can't obviously count them out. They're in first place. But with City only trailing behind them, and what we, saw them do just a couple nights ago in the FA Cup, like, it's still, in my opinion, obviously Arsenal have more points, so it's technically theirs to lose. But City are the champions. They're coming for it still. I think that's really the only one to be afraid of. I don't think, Gary Neville's an idiot, in my opinion. United's not going to finish above them. I think that if Arsenal don't win it, it's City, then it's Arsenal. Probably looking like almost Newcastle at this point in time, which is wild and good for them. But yeah, I'm still reluctant. I'm still not one of those Arsenal fans that's going to be like, yeah, it's ours. It's not. It's very much not. It would be amazing if it is, but let's just take it 1 week at a time still.
Yeah, and I'm
But is it exciting? Yes.
I'm man enough to admit that I was wrong about Arsenal. I thought they were going to be the same old kind of, choking in the last seconds, and they've proved me wrong time and time again. If I was a betting man, I would have lost tons of money on Arsenal this season. But yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how they're going to be now that they're sort of looked at as a top team in the Prem again. I'm not saying that they're still, of course, one of the biggest clubs in the Prem, but consistently now challenging for titles. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like, to seeing really good players come up. I mean, like, think about getting Trossard now, adding that to the team. I think he was probably Brighton's best player at some point. So I'm really looking forward to it, unfortunately.
I mean, I am too. And I really, what I again tell Blaine whenever he asks this question is like, I'm just excited to see them play Tuesday, Wednesday nights again. This Thursday stuff is no good. Champions League is what we need to be like, where we need to be every year. So I'm excited that they're going to be back in Champions League. Will they win the league? Let's hope they will, but one game at a time. What are your thoughts, Blaine? Are they going to win it? Every week we talk about this.
Every week it comes up. So I think while I stepped away, you guys were referring to the FA Cup tie where Nathan Ake had a side foot finesse finish.
Yeah.
Not convincing when Nathan Ake scores your only goal. I'll say this. Man City beat Chelsea 2-3 seasons ago whenever we won the Champions League, right? They beat us in the league. They pulled the double. And what did Kai Havertz do? So what I'm saying all that to say,
made fun of Raheem Sterling. Sorry, I said he made fun of Raheem Sterling. That was messed up.
Yeah,
he did that.
The point I'm making, or now I lost my train of thought. But I think if Arsenal can, I legitimately think they can hold on and win the league. I legitimately. like if I were a betting
really
man,
hope so.
I would put money on it. Just I feel like this is the only reason why.
Get me excited.
So I mean, they haven't been losing those games. They've been holding on. They have not been choking. The mentality is strong. They did actually buy some reinforcements. They might still buy a few more. Manchester City, Liverpool, Man United have all shown their weakness. Even though City beat them, like I think Liverpool's losing to, I don't even know who they're playing in the FA Cup today. I think it's Brighton. It's actually Brighton. They're losing to Brighton. Man U, I mean, they look good. Newcastle, they look good, but I feel like Newcastle is like a mini version of Arsenal, where if anyone gets injured, that's a wrap. I feel like it's almost the same for Man U. Like if Bruno Fernandes gets hurt, if Marcus Rashford gets hurt, like that's basically the squad. I mean, and then the back line has been doing their thing, but that's basically the squad. Like Anthony's, right. I mean, as much as it pains me, he's useless. Anthony is useless. Eriksen,
he got his first assist, I think, didn't he? Did he just
get his first assist? Call him a YouTube footballer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hate saying he's been, I mean, yeah, got his first assist, but the fact that he got his first assist at the end of the month, and anyway, the point being, I think I legitimately think Arsenal can hold on unless they get injured. I think them getting taken out of the FA Cup is actually a benefit for them. If they get dropped out of Europe,
I agree.
If they choose to play a lesser side and they get knocked out of Europe, I think all of these things can work in their favor. And I feel like historically, like when you're making like a run to like claim a title after years of not having a title, insert Leicester, insert Chelsea, if you're not playing in Europe, or it's like, I feel like when you're getting back to your groove, it's like you almost can't be contentious in any other competitions but the one. Like Chelsea, the first time they won the Champions League, I think they finished 6th in the table, right? They had blown the season by all accounts. When they last won the Champions League, it was the same thing. They had blown the season. By all accounts, they had blown the season. So, it's just how I felt. And then, and also under Conte, they didn't make the Champions League, and they made a crazy run to win a Premier League title. So that's, I mean, obviously Arsenal's still in Europa, but I feel like, the sooner they drop out, the less likely they are to get one of their stars injured, the more likely they are to go on. And as far as Pep Guardiola and Man City are concerned, I think they put stock in the league, but they're really going for Europe. And then I think so. And then, and so what you're saying is like, it's a dogfight between Man U, West Ham, Spurs, perhaps
Newcastle, Tottenham.
That's what I meant to say. I said West Ham. I meant Newcastle. And I mean, why not? Like, why can't Arsenal? Like, Arsenal has their players are better than all of those players. Why couldn't they hold on? So
I agree.
I
agree. It's so I see all these Arsenal fans out there making themselves look like fools, being like, we're back, and it's like, okay, it's a season, and we look good. And we look really good, and things are going well, and we have amazing players. But first of all, Arsenal's never been able to hold on to players. So let's hope that we can hold on to Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. And not only that,
Martinelli just signed that contract. Didn't he just sign an extension to 26? Years, right? Yeah.
So not only that, but then sign players, because Partey is out. That man's been holding it down this whole season for us. So who's going to come in for that?
Did he get injured? Did he get injured in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was taken off. I think it's going to be interesting. And Brooks, I would say to you to make sure you're getting your cholesterol levels checked. As it's getting towards the end of this. I could see Arsenal winning, and it's been how long since the last one for Arsenal, right?
Over 20 years? Oh, 19 years?
So
2004.
That would be amazing to see. Be amazing to see 19 years, right?
It would be amazing to see.
But it's going to be tight, and I just hope that you stay healthy as you're going through that,
I'm going to the gym. I'm running. I'm, doing the yoga. Got my vitamins. Yeah, I'm drinking mate. So it's really fun to see. And I will say one last thing about them and the game against City is that and not to hype us too much because I don't like to do this, but City did play everyone but Ederson. I mean, they came to win that game, and Arsenal played they had like 6 changes from their first squad. So to only lose 1-0 to that kind of goal with 6 changes from your first team that's pretty good. That makes, I think that it was more of like a moral thing that Arteta was trying to do. It's like, hey, like we only lost 1-0 without our full first team in. So in the league, I mean, to Blaine's point, when we play them in the league, we're going to go for it. Everyone's going to come in. We're all going to be looking good and healthy, and hopefully it's a different outcome. But if they can beat City one time when they have to play them this season, then I think it's theirs. I'm just not confident that they can beat City.
That's gonna be a big game.
They don't even have to beat City though. They just have to draw. Like just if you like because they're 8 points clear right now with a game in hand. Or am I I haven't looked at the
with a game in hand.
Oh, is it 5 with a game in hand?
I think.
Okay, 5 games with a game in hand. If they just push City 2 times, that's stalemate. I don't even like if I'm Arteta, I'm not even trying to win that game. I'm just playing.
Really?
I mean, why
right now.
Why take unnecessary risk? Like if you're taking if your goal is to win the league, like I feel like this is like where Jose Mourinho's mentality kicks in. Like you take calculated risk and you say like this team we don't need to win, so why take it to them? There's no shame in parking a bus and knocking a ball around the park for 90 some odd minutes just to get the 1-1. So now you're 2 less games and you're both in your same position and you go take the game to somebody else. You know what I mean? That's. I feel like if we're playing like because you could try to win and you could end up losing by another Ake side foot finesse shot, 1 in a million, and it goes in and it's now okay. Now we're 2 points, and now all of a sudden. If we draw somebody else and they don't, now they're winning by 1 point, and it's Liverpool, Man City, the 2020 season all over again, right? Or was that this, or is it 21, or is it 20? I can't remember.
And City's been there already.
Yeah,
and Arsenal haven't, and that's where the nerves we come in.
You just got to assume City's going to win every game from now until the end of the league, and if you still have 2 games and you can just push those, and you can also win yours, which is a bet that you could take. You don't need to beat City. Send the kids out and just stifle them for the whole game, which, I mean, I'm not saying don't really do that, but, it's a tactic. It's a tactic that's worked in the past.
The last 4 weeks, I think, or 6 weeks, they play City, then they play Chelsea, then they play Newcastle. So that's like going to be a tough end to the season for them. But hey, you have to perform if you're going to be champions. So let's see what happens.
Yeah,
100%.
Getting nervous. Hands are sweaty.
Well, like Yemi said, get your cholesterol right. We don't want a stroke. All right, gentlemen. Well, we've been yakking now for about 97 minutes. We are in stoppage time. Are there any other topics or anything you would like to get off your chest before we conclude this week's episode of the Abrazo Football Podcast? Any rumors? Any big topics? Any shout outs? Okay.
I just have one question. Chelsea legend Frank Lampard obviously was sacked by Everton. Yeah, and there's people saying he's been a failure. Him and Gerrard are failures in the Premier League. I don't think that his tenure was quite as bad as people think at Chelsea. Everton's a different story, but that whole club's a mess to begin with. So I just want to know your thoughts on that. Was he a failure in the Premier League? Should he have been let go in Chelsea?
It depends. I mean, it always depends. You got to like the qualifiers. People need to define these words. Like, was he a failure in the sense that he didn't win the Premier League? If that's what a failure is, then yes, he's a failure. Is he a failure because he got sacked mid-season by 2 clubs that wear the color blue? If that's your criteria for failure, yes, he was a failure. If the criteria is did he find academy players, promote them to the first team, and those players went on to win trophies in England and Italy, respectively.
The same year he was fired, by the way.
He's not a failure. You got trophies from Tammy, Feek, both Nigerian brothers. Shout out to my Nigerian brothers. You know what I'm saying? And then at home, you got Mason and Reese winning a Champions League. So, I mean, they've half 3/4 of the people he brought through have won European silverware. That's astonishing. So
yeah, no, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. If Lampard wasn't a part of the Chelsea manager rotation, right, strategy, I think he would have probably stayed at Chelsea and probably still be at Chelsea at this point. You also have to remember when he got fired from Chelsea, he was also going through this insane injury crisis as well, right? And then Tuchel came in, people got healthy, and then you look at the Champions League goal. He said this as well. The ball went from Mendy to Chilwell to Mount to Havertz. All players that essentially have Frank Lampard's fingerprints all over it,
yeah.
right? And so I don't believe he was a failure at Chelsea. I think he was just a byproduct of Chelsea's strategy of, okay, what? You're not top 3? Get him out of here, right? And then look at everything's nuanced. Look at what he did at Everton, where these guys were bottom of the league, and for him to fight and push and incite like enthusiasm from that Merseyside fan base that was almost dying. It was about to be in the championship. For him to get them to be just even more energized and enthusiastic about football, I think he deserves some credit. Yeah, look at it. That team then lost 3 of their best players. Yeah, it's gonna be terrible. It's what it is. And they were even gonna sell Gordon. Like, that team was going to be absolutely horrible because they just don't have players. And Sean Dyche's gonna come in, and they're probably still gonna get relegated. It just is what it is. And so I don't believe he was a failure. I think he deserves a real shot. But we'll see if he's actually gonna get one.
I feel like the mistake. I feel like there certainly were mistakes that he made, and we can't be blind to those mistakes. It could be argued that he started too early and he should have stayed at Derby County after getting that team promoted. Ultimately, they weren't promoted. They lost in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, right?
But still, I mean, that alone is an achievement, right? But. So I mean, but it's tricky because like you think of it like I'm Frank Lampard. I get the call from the big man to come represent the Blues as the main coach, the head coach. It's kind of like Mikel Arteta. He gets the call from Arsenal. Do you want to come do the job? And it's like in the back of your head, I'm going to give this everything I got, but like it's probably not going to be pretty for a while. And it's like where one team there's a toxic culture of firing coaches and bringing in a new coach to like give the players another stimulus to like get them to that point. It's like. Yeah, like our coach got fired mid-season. That gave us the boost we wanted to win a Champions League. Okay, that's like a part of the philosophy, and someone needed to be sacrificed, and it's often the coach. Whereas if he would have stayed and got backing and made it through or a sellout or a sell in a new purchase, like he probably could have found a lot more success. We wouldn't have won the Champions League, but we might be at that point. We might be, third or second in the table right now, or we might be top of the table.
Right.
But it's like pros and cons. Would you rather be in contention for the title this season or have won the Champions League? And for that to happen, we had to make a sacrifice, and it would have had to have been Frank Lampard. But as far as I'm concerned, he should have a Champions League medal for that season, and he should be seen as like the joint coach because he coached half of the season, and without that half of the season, we couldn't have the second half. So, I mean, if he was a failure at Everton, they weren't relegated. That was the task. That was the objective. Do not get relegated, and they were not relegated. Right. As far as Steven Gerrard, he is a failure. He is a loser. He is not a good coach. Okay? John Terry, on the other hand, he was at Aston Villa. He was a decent assistant coach. He helped their defense a ton. Look at Tyrone Mings. He got England call-ups under John Terry's stewardship. But Stephen G, he's a fraud.
Yeah, your Chelsea bias is not seeping out at all in this. I didn't even know you supported Chelsea, dude. I thought you were a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I just want to say the same. Like, I didn't want to see him get let go at Chelsea. So I wish that he was in Graham Potter's position right now. I wish that it was, different circumstances and that he was the man they were going to stick with long term, similar to what Arsenal is doing with Arteta. Because obviously Frank Lampard means way more to Chelsea than Arteta meant to Arsenal.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank Lampard is there forever, won everything with them. So
he was one of the 3 poster boys. It was Frank Lampard, Drogba, and John Terry on every poster in every young Chelsea fan's bedroom for the better part of 2 decades.
Even in this is gonna probably be embarrassing, but She's the Man, the movie, he's in.
I know. Yeah.
He's in that one too.
Yeah, there's the Lampard and the Drogba posters in Sebastian's bedroom. Yeah.
That's right. And the best part was like he wasn't a part of any of the scandals either. John Terry.
So that's why I can't stand John Terry. Yeah. John Terry's trash, but Frank Lampard's such a good guy.
He's even in this like crypto scandal too. I'm like, Jesus, man.
Bro, he just has poor judgment. John Terry has poor judgment off the football field. Off the football field,
dude.
Yeah. Oh, well, I saw him because I follow him on Instagram. I saw him posting earlier. I was like, bro, you need to just back off of this all the way before it's too late. You haven't seen, like, a ton of good men have fallen for worse. Like, just stay out of it. Stay out of it. This is no good.
Great player, though. Great player. Insane leader. Yeah. Great player.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I mean, that's I don't think I had I heard that being floated around on like Sky Sports. I was like, come on, you guys are too quick to call people failures in that country. Yeah.
The last thing that I had, and maybe this is directed towards you, Brooks. How did you feel about this whole Modric situation? Yeah, I just wanted to hear it from your side of the story. I
mean, Blaine knows how I was. I mean, I think like most Arsenal, or like pretty intense Arsenal fans, like we've been following this kid for over 6 months, like for quite a while now. And so I think I told our friend John, I was like, literally that night that Chelsea signed him, I still woke up. It felt like 20 years ago when like your girl broke your heart or whatever, like you weren't sure what was going on in the relationship. Like literally I felt like that. I woke up multiple times in the middle of the night with that on my mind, that he signed for Chelsea instead of Arsenal. And so to finish this off, at the time I was like, this is the wrong move because Chelsea doesn't grow and develop young players. They're showing that they can do that now in the likes of Reece James. Mason Mount needs something, but they're buying younger, so hopefully, like, it was a good move for him. We already know that Arteta can grow and develop young players. So just for that sense alone, I was like, ooh, I hope that he's making the right choice for himself. I think Mudryk is going to be, you already said it, like I didn't have to add anything to that, one of the greatest players in the Premier League for a very long time. Just the few touches that he had against Liverpool, I was like, this dude is Thierry Henry mixed with Cristiano Ronaldo. Like the footwork was insane. His speed is insane. I was so hurt. But I will say that I don't like when people say that Chelsea came in and what do they say? Robbed him. Hijacked. Yeah.
Hijacked the transfer.
Because I'm like, everyone knows Arsenal wanted him. Everyone knows he wanted Arsenal. Everyone should know Arsenal did not want to go above X amount of dollars. And Chelsea was like, that's no problem for us.
Right.
Here you go. Are you cool with coming? Yes. Okay, great. Let's go. So great move by Chelsea. Again, like one other reason, like it's probably so great to be a Chelsea fan because when you're linked with high profile people, you get the high profile people, right. You know, it's not like it's like more exciting if it happens at Arsenal because that doesn't happen anymore. But Chelsea, man, you guys, you put your sights on someone and he comes through. So congrats to Chelsea. I think I think that in the long run, Arsenal are going to be kicking themselves for not going £5 million more or whatever menial amount it was. You know, yeah, you have your values and you have your policies or whatever. And I get that and I appreciate that. But dude, it was like 5 million for this guy that obviously wanted you and obviously you needed, I think, more than Chelsea. Chelsea needs a midfielder before this whole thing wraps up. But Arsenal needed a winger. They got one in the long run, but I would have loved to see Mudryk long term at Arsenal. But so congrats to you guys. I'm excited to see him play.
Anthony
Absolutely.
Gordon just signed for Newcastle.
He did, right?
He's in the shirt. It's official.
Everton's
Premier
down.
League just posted it with Newcastle. Bro, I mean, just Frank, no one stands a chance. How are you selling your best player? You fire your coach and you sell your best player within 4 days?
Yeah, the club's a mess.
Sean Dyche, what are you doing?
It's a mess.
They're going to get relegated.
They got bills to pay, though.
They're going to get relegated. It is what it is.
Goodison Park's already condemned. Now it's just going to crumble. Okay. Well, guys, right. It's almost been 2 hours. I think we got to put a pin in this one. If you're still here with us, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We love you.
You get free mate if you're here with us too.
Yeah, if you're like, should we give a code if you've made it to this point?
Yeah.
Put in what should the code be? Think of something.
Chelsea.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Is blue.
London is blue is your promo code, and it will be worth your while. Okay, well, that's all we got, guys. Thanks for hanging out. It's the Football Abrazo Football Podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace.